He was 17 and had nothing, no home, no family, no hope. The orphanage had thrown him out at dawn. A letter in his pocket changed everything. It said he had inherited a private island, with a mysterious Quonset hut. What he found in the attic would leave him completely speechless. Hello, everyone. Before we start, join our YouTube family by subscribing to the channel. Don't forget to like this video and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. What is your favorite or lucky number in 0 to 31. Now let's get into the story. Kai woke to the pale light of dawn, the orphanage yard quiet and empty. The wind cut through his thin jacket and he shivered, thinking of the life he had just left behind. At 17, he had nothing. No home, no family, no money. The social worker had handed him a small backpack, a crumpled envelope, and a cold, indifferent good luck. Rust, his loyal dog, nudged his hand with a wet nose, tail wagging slightly. Kai smiled faintly despite the fear gnawing at his stomach. We'll figure this out, buddy. Just you and me now. Rust barked softly as if agreeing. Kai unfolded the envelope. Inside was a letter, its paper thick and yellowed, the handwriting elegant and unfamiliar. To Kai, my great-nephew, you inherit a private island with a Quonset hut. Protect it, and you will find your purpose. Avery Caldwell. Kai's eyes widened. Avery Caldwell. The name had come up only in whispers at the foster homes. A man who vanished years ago, leaving stories of genius, mystery, and isolation. And now somehow the island was his. The ferry ride across the sparkling water was both terrifying and exhilarating. Kai held Rust close, gripping the straps of his backpack tightly. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest as he imagined the island. Cliffs, thick forests, a rusty Quonset hut, a leaning barn, and secrets hidden in every corner. The sea glistened under the rising sun, each wave sparkling like tiny fragments of a dream he had never dared to imagine. When they arrived, Kai stepped onto the sand, feeling the grit between his fingers. Rust ran ahead, sniffing eagerly, ears perked. The island smelled of salt, pine, and earth, a wild, untamed scent that made Kai's stomach flutter with both fear and anticipation. The hut was small, its curved metal roof rusted and worn. Windows were dusty, some cracked, but the structure still held an air of resilience. Beside it, a leaning barn swayed slightly with the wind. Wooden boards groaned and creaked, telling the story of decades standing against storms and sun. The surrounding grass was tall, swaying in the breeze, and small wildflowers dotted the clearing. Splashes of color in the green. Kai explored cautiously. Dust rose with each step, and Rust sniffed every corner, barking at shadows and scuttling wildlife. Crates of old tools lined the walls. Lanterns hung crookedly from hooks, and metal scraps and wires were scattered across the floor. Kai ran his fingers over a small gear, imagining the mechanisms it could turn. Each item seemed ordinary but held the promise of invention. He climbed the narrow ladder to the attic, careful of the old, creaking wood. The space above was small but filled with potential. A chest sat in the corner, locked, and a loose floorboard near the wall hinted at a hidden key. His pulse quickened. This was only the beginning. Avery's genius had left traces, mysteries waiting for him to uncover. In the barn, Rust barked at the sudden movement of a bird, and Kai crouched to examine the piles of mechanical parts, rusty hinges, wires, and tools. Some pieces seemed ancient. Others were oddly modern. He imagined turning this barn into a workshop, building machines, discovering inventions, bringing Avery's legacy to life. The possibilities sparked a fire of excitement and fear in him. What if he failed? What if someone tried to steal this inheritance? Climbing the small cliff near the hut, Kai took in the island from above. The waves crashed against jagged rocks. The wind whipped through the trees, and seagulls cried overhead. The island was alive, wild and untamed, but inviting. Loneliness still gnawed at him, but awe replaced much of the fear. Here he could begin again. He could protect something that mattered. As the sun set, the light cast golden hues across the hut and barn. Kai explored every corner, arranging tools, brushing away dust, imagining the barn and attic as his future workspace. The island whispered of secrets, and he could almost feel the presence of Avery watching, guiding him from somewhere beyond. Rust growled softly and Kai froze. In the shadows of the trees he glimpsed movement. A man, Victor Haynes, watched the clearing. His posture was tense, calculating, eyes gleaming with ambition and greed. Kai's stomach twisted. The inheritance wasn't just a gift, it was a challenge. Someone would try to take what was rightfully his. He hid the key under a floorboard, whispering to Rust, "We'll be careful, buddy. We'll protect this place." Rust nudged his hand as if promising loyalty. Kai sat by the window watching the moon rise above the waves. For the first time in his life, he felt a spark of hope. The island, the hut, the barn, and Rust were his new world. Challenges awaited, secrets hid in every shadow, but he was ready to face them. Night deepened. The waves crashed, the wind whistled through the trees, and Kai could hear the distant call of nocturnal birds. He lay on the floor of the hut, Rust curled beside him, and let his mind wander. In his imagination, he saw the hidden attic, inventions humming with energy, the island alive with possibility. He thought of Victor, lurking, and felt a thrill of both fear and determination. Kai finally closed his eyes, whispering to Rust, "This is our home now, and we'll protect it, no matter what comes." Rust twitched as if understanding and nestled closer. For the first time, Kai didn't feel completely alone. The island was his inheritance, yes, but also his responsibility. Courage, curiosity, and heart would guide him through what was to come. Night had fallen over the island. The moon cast silvery light across the waves, turning the sea into a sheet of glass streaked with shadows. Kai sat on the floor of the hut. Rust curled beside him and stared at the attic ladder. The locked chest upstairs had been calling to him all day, whispering secrets he didn't yet understand. He reached out and touched the worn wooden steps, feeling their rough texture under his fingers. His heart pounded with anticipation and fear. Rust shifted, whining softly, sensing the tension. Kai whispered, "It's okay, buddy. We're safe, for now." With a deep breath, he climbed, each step creaking beneath his weight. Dust rose around him, floating like tiny stars in the moonlight streaming through the attic window. At the top, the chest sat in the corner. He carefully pried open the lid with the small key hidden under the floorboard. Inside were old journals, each filled with precise flowing handwriting, diagrams of intricate machines, and mysterious notes in Avery's careful script. Kai ran his fingers over the pages, eyes wide with awe. Some pages showed gears and pulleys, others diagrams of wind turbines and water wheels. Avery had left behind a secret project, a renewable energy system that could power the island and even more, a blueprint for inventions Kai had only dreamed about. But scattered among the engineering notes were messages in Avery's own words, warnings about greed, trust, and patience. One journal was folded and tied with a ribbon. When Kai opened it, he found a hand-drawn map marking a hidden spot deep in the forest. A note scrawled in the margin read, "Only the worthy will uncover the secret. Greed will ruin all." Kai's pulse quickened. Avery hadn't just left inventions. He had left puzzles, challenges, and tests, meant to prove that Kai had the courage and heart to inherit the island fully. A sudden noise startled him. Rust growled, ears perked, tail stiff. Through the attic window, Kai saw movement among the trees. The figure of a man watching, lurking. Victor Haynes. Kai's stomach tightened. He had seen the shadow of Victor earlier, but now the threat felt real. The greedy man's eyes gleamed, calculating. Whoever he was, he wanted the island, the hut, and Avery's secrets for himself. Kai hid the journals in the chest, then rigged a small alarm with a can and string from the attic supplies. He crept quietly down the ladder, Rust following, paused silent on the wooden steps. Every instinct told him to be cautious. The island itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for what was to come. Victor stepped into the clearing outside. "Boy, step aside!" "That island, those inventions, they belong to me," he barked, his voice sharp and full of menace. Kai froze, heart pounding, then whispered to Rust, "We can't let him take it." "Not without a fight," Rust growled, fur bristling. Kai remembered the sketches of Avery's mechanisms, the pulleys, levers, and traps described in the journals. With careful thought, he used scraps of metal, string, and old cans to create an improvised alarm system around the hut. When Victor stepped closer, a loud clang startled him, and Rust leapt forward, barking. Victor cursed, stumbling over the noise and shadows. Hours passed, Victor retreating for now, but leaving threats in his wake. Kai realized Avery had prepared for such an intruder. The hut, barn, and attic were more than buildings. They were puzzles, defenses, tests, and Kai was learning quickly, thinking strategically, proving himself capable of handling the inheritance. Sitting by the window, Kai opened another journal, finding a note addressed to him. "Courage is not absence of fear, but action in spite of it. Trust yourself, and the island will reveal its secrets." Kai felt a warmth in his chest. He had been abandoned and alone, but now he had purpose. The island was alive with potential, and he had the spark to bring it to life. Rust curled against him as the moon climbed higher. Waves crashing below, wind rustling through trees. Kai whispered, "We'll find the secrets, buddy. We'll protect everything Avery left behind." He imagined hidden inventions humming silently in hidden corners, clever devices waiting for him to unlock their potential. For the first time, Kai didn't feel powerless. The island was his inheritance, yes, but also a responsibility. Courage, intelligence, and loyalty would guide him. Victor might return and the challenges would be harder. But Kai had hope now, real hope. And hope, he realized, was stronger than fear. He finally leaned back, watching the stars blink above the waves, imagining the adventures ahead, the mysteries to uncover, and the life he could build with Rust at his side. The night was quiet, but the promise of discovery hung in the air like electricity. Kai knew the journey had only begun. Kai stepped cautiously through the dense forest, Rust padding silently beside him. The map from Avery's journal pointed to a hidden area deep in the island, a place marked with a small X in the corner. Every step was filled with uncertainty. Roots snaked across the path, birds flitted overhead, and distant waves crashed against unseen cliffs. He tightened his grip on the backpack and felt Rust's warmth beside him. The forest smelled of damp earth and pine, a scent that both comforted and unsettled him. Kai couldn't help thinking about how far he had come, from the orphanage, from being alone in the world, to inheriting an entire island. Every shadow seemed to whisper secrets, and he felt Avery's presence as if the old man had been guiding him all along. As they moved deeper, Kai noticed faint signs of previous activity. Footprints, broken twigs, and subtle markings on tree bark. "Someone else has been here," he whispered to Rust. The dog sniffed the ground, alert, tail stiff. Kai's pulse quickened. Could it be Victor watching from the shadows, or was it a clue left by Avery? They arrived at a clearing where the sunlight barely touched the ground. In the center, half buried under leaves and moss, was a small metal hatch. Kai's eyes widened. This must be what Avery's notes were referring to. A hidden underground room, sealed for decades. He knelt and brushed away debris, discovering a small keyhole carved into the metal. The chest key from the hut seemed too small, but he remembered a folded note in the journal mentioning, "Second keys hidden where earth meets stone." Kai scanned the clearing. A flat rock half submerged near a tree root shifted slightly under his touch. Beneath it was a small rusted key. Heart pounding, he inserted it into the hatch lock. It turned smoothly. The hatch creaked open, revealing a dark tunnel leading downward. Rust barked softly, hesitant but trusting Kai's lead. The underground chamber was damp but structured. Stone walls lined the space, and in the center sat an elaborate contraption, a machine with copper coils, spinning gears and levers covered in dust. Pipes snaked across the walls, connecting to a large cylindrical container. A faint hum of latent energy seemed to emanate from it, though nothing moved yet. Kai stepped closer, examining Avery's design notes taped to a nearby wall. They outlined a renewable energy system, wind turbines, water channels, and a mysterious core mechanism capable of powering the entire island independently. Kai's eyes lit up. This wasn't just inheritance. It was a mission to revive the island and complete Avery's vision. Suddenly, a twig snapped above. Rust growled. From the shadows, Victor appeared, flanked by two men, eyes gleaming with greed. "I warned you, boy," Victor sneered. "Step aside and I might let you keep something." Kai's heart raced, but he remembered Avery's words. Courage is action in spite of fear. He grabbed a small pulley system described in the notes, rigging an improvised alarm. Cans clanged loudly as Victor stepped forward, startling him. Rust barked ferociously, lunging toward the intruders, forcing them to stumble. The confrontation was brief but tense. Victor cursed, realizing the island was full of defenses he hadn't expected. Kai knew this was only the first test. He had to think quickly, using both his wits and the environment to protect Avery's inventions. As Victor and his men retreated into the trees, muttering threats, Kai's mind raced. The underground chamber wasn't just a room, it was a puzzle. Every lever, coil, and gear was a step in Avery's plan, and Kai had to understand it to unlock the full potential of the island. Rust nudged him, tail wagging, and Kai smiled faintly. Together they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. Hours passed and Kai studied the mechanisms, taking notes and testing small levers. He felt a thrill with every connection he made. The energy system hummed faintly under his touch. He could almost see the island coming alive. Powered by Avery's vision and his own determination, night fell again and Kai emerged from the underground chamber, Rust by his side. The forest seemed quieter, the island holding its breath. He looked up at the stars, feeling a sense of purpose he had never known. He had inherited more than land and a hut. He had inherited a legacy, a challenge, and the chance to make something extraordinary. Kai whispered to Rust, "We're just getting started, buddy. There's so much to discover, and Avery trusted us with it all." Rust barked softly in agreement, and Kai felt a deep sense of resolve. No matter what Victor threw at them, no matter how complex the puzzles, he would unlock every secret. This island, this inheritance, was theirs to protect and bring to life. Kai felt the night press down around the underground chamber. The air was damp, carrying the smell of moss and old metal. Rust pressed close to him, ears twitching at every small sound. The map Avery had left marked a deeper part of the island, a hidden area that Kai had not yet explored. His heart pounded with both excitement and fear. He followed the path outlined in Avery's notes, using the moonlight to guide him. The forest seemed alive, shadows moving like silent watchers. Every step reminded Kai of Victor. He could appear at any moment. But the thought of Avery's inventions, the hidden energy systems, and the promise of discovery pushed him forward. Deeper into the forest, Kai noticed a faint glow emanating from a cluster of rocks. Approaching cautiously, he saw symbols carved into the stone, faintly luminescent in the moonlight. His breath caught. Avery had left puzzles not just in journals but in the very land itself. Each carving seemed to hint at a mechanism, a hidden lever, or a secret passage. Rust barked suddenly, alerting Kai to movement behind them. Victor had returned, flanked by men, eyes sharp and greedy. "Hand over the key, boy." "The island, the machines, they belong to me," Victor shouted. His voice cut through the still night, echoing in the trees. Kai's mind raced. He remembered Avery's words about courage and action. He quickly scanned the carvings and symbols, noticing a pattern. Using a combination of levers and pulleys described in Avery's journals, he triggered a trap. Stones shifted, making loud noises, and a small net swung from the trees, tangling Victor's men. Rust lunged forward, barking, forcing the intruders to retreat temporarily. The island seemed to protect Kai, almost as if Avery had imbued it with his foresight. But Victor was persistent. Kai knew this confrontation was only the beginning. He had to decipher the remaining puzzles, understand the energy system, and outsmart the villain if he wanted to safeguard the island. Kai finally reached the hidden clearing marked on the map. There, partially buried under roots and moss, was a metallic panel leading to another underground chamber. The key he had found earlier fit perfectly, and as he opened it, a gust of cool air escaped, carrying the scent of metal, oil, and mystery. Inside, a small laboratory lay untouched. Shelves lined with vials, mechanical parts, and blueprints filled the room. It was Avery's secret workshop, preserved for decades. Kai ran his fingers over the machinery, realizing that Avery had left instructions for him to activate a hidden power system. The energy core was silent, but it held the potential to light the entire island. Each gear, lever, and coil had a purpose, a secret waiting to be unlocked. Suddenly a voice called from the shadows. "I see you found it, boy," Victor sneered, stepping into the clearing. His men flanked him, eyes glinting with greed. Kai's chest tightened, but he remembered the clever mechanisms, the protective traps, and his own courage. With quick thinking, Kai used levers and pulleys to set off alarms and tripwires around the laboratory. Victor's men were disoriented, slipping over cables and falling into shallow pits. Rust barked fiercely, protecting Kai, nipping at the intruders. Victor cursed, realizing that the island and Avery's inventions were not so easily taken. Hours passed. Victor retreated for now, leaving threats in his wake. Kai sat in the lab, surrounded by Avery's designs, realizing the depth of the inheritance. Avery hadn't just given him land and a hut. He had left a mission, a legacy of invention, courage, and responsibility. Kai understood that his journey was far from over. But for the first time, he felt capable, prepared, and inspired. Sitting in the quiet lab, Kai whispered to Rust, "We're ready, buddy. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." Rust leaned against him, tail wagging softly. Kai imagined activating the machines, harnessing energy, and bringing Avery's vision to life. He thought of Victor, knowing the villain would return, but now he felt ready to protect everything he had inherited. The night deepened. Outside, the wind rustled through the trees. Waves crashed faintly in the distance, and the island seemed alive with anticipation. Kai realized that courage wasn't the absence of fear but the action to overcome it. With Rust by his side and Avery's guidance in his hands, Kai felt ready for the challenges ahead. Kai stood at the edge of the clearing, the faint glow of the underground lab casting long shadows across the mossy ground. Rust sniffed the air, ears alert. For the first time, Kai felt the weight of responsibility, not just to the island, but to Avery's legacy. Every blueprint, every mechanism, every note left behind was a test of courage, intelligence, and heart. He carefully carried the journals and maps from the lab back to the hut. The Quonset hut, rusty and weathered, now felt more like home than ever. Inside, he laid out the journals, the schematics, and the notes. Dust floated in the beams of moonlight, shimmering like tiny stars. He ran his fingers over diagrams showing pulleys, turbines, and energy conduits, realizing the genius Avery had poured into this place. Rust nudged him toward the attic ladder. The chest, once locked, now seemed less like a container of old objects and more like a treasure trove of possibilities. Kai's pulse quickened. What Avery had left wasn't just mechanical, it was a life-changing discovery. A hidden energy system capable of transforming the island completely. He climbed the ladder carefully, Rust following. At the top, he spread the journals across the floor. Pages detailed a network of turbines powered by both wind and water channels. Hidden switches controlled pressure valves, levers redirected energy, and copper wiring conducted electricity silently. The instructions were intricate, but Kai studied each step, imagining the island lighting up under Avery's design. Suddenly, a noise outside made him freeze. Rust barked, growling softly. Through the window, he glimpsed Victor again, lurking near the barn, eyes gleaming with greed. Victor had not given up. Kai's stomach twisted. The villain would return, perhaps stronger, perhaps with more men. But Kai had something Victor did not: knowledge, preparation, and the determination to protect the legacy entrusted to him. Kai began activating the first set of mechanisms. A small water channel shifted, spinning a wheel that hummed quietly. Rust barked excitedly as the attic flickered with the faint glow of mechanical movement. Each pulley and gear clicked into place, and Kai felt a surge of hope and pride. He was no longer just a boy abandoned by the world. He was a guardian, an inventor in training, and the protector of Avery's secrets. Hours passed. The attic and hut filled with the sounds of spinning gears, rushing water, and mechanical hums. Rust padded alongside Kai, wagging his tail as the systems began to come alive. The island seemed to respond. The wind shifted, birds settled quietly, and the waves below carried the faint vibration of energy, coursing through the ground. Kai paused, wiping sweat from his brow. He realized Avery had left more than inventions. There were clues about character, trust, and persistence. Each puzzle solved reinforced Kai's confidence. The boy who had been kicked out, abandoned, and alone was now shaping the future of the island, following the blueprint of a man who had once been a legend. Then a louder noise crashing from the barn. Victor had returned, this time with more men. He was shouting, demanding the island, the machines, the journals. Kai's heart raced. He grabbed a lever, pulling it with all his strength. A hidden trap activated. Nets fell, wires tripped, and the ground shifted slightly to create obstacles. Victor's men were caught off guard, stumbling and falling. Rust lunged, barking ferociously, protecting Kai and the inventions. Victor roared in frustration. "This isn't over, boy," he shouted, retreating for now but leaving behind a lingering threat. Kai exhaled, leaning against the wall, heart pounding. The island had survived the first real test under his care, and he had survived it too. As night deepened, Kai climbed to the attic window, looking out at the moonlit waves. The turbines outside, powered by the mechanisms he had activated, spun silently. The barn, the hut, the attic, all were alive with energy, quiet yet powerful. He realized that Avery's gift was not only a system of inventions but also a lesson. Courage, ingenuity, and heart could overcome greed and fear. Rust curled against him. "We did it, buddy," Kai whispered softly. "This is only the beginning. Avery trusted us with this, and we won't let him down." The dog nudged his hand in agreement. Kai spent the rest of the night checking connections, ensuring everything worked as intended. The journals offered more instructions, guiding him toward hidden rooms, additional energy sources, and the secrets that Avery had buried across the island. Each discovery strengthened his resolve. He was no longer the boy cast out from the orphanage. He was Kai, the protector, the inheritor, the boy who had found a purpose greater than he had ever imagined. As dawn approached, the island glowed faintly with the first light. Turbines spinning, water flowing, and the hut alive with hidden energy. Kai stood on the cliff looking out over the sea, Rust at his side. He knew challenges lay ahead. Victor would return, puzzles would grow harder, and the legacy required constant vigilance. But Kai had learned the most important lesson. Courage, loyalty, and determination could turn even the most impossible inheritance into a life-changing adventure. Kai worked tirelessly in the attic as the sun rose, dust motes dancing in the golden light. Rust padded along, occasionally sniffing at scattered journals and tools. Every gear, lever, and pulley had to be perfectly aligned. The island's hidden energy system depended on precision, and Kai knew that any mistake could leave the island vulnerable. He double-checked Avery's notes, tracing diagrams with his finger, making sure every connection was correct. The turbines outside began spinning faster with each adjustment, water flowing through channels with a steady hum. Kai's pulse quickened. The island was coming alive, responding to his work. Suddenly, a shadow fell across the attic window. Rust growled, hackles raised. Kai looked up to see Victor peering in, his eyes burning with greed. "You think you can hide it from me forever?" Victor snarled. "That island, those inventions, they belong to me." Kai's mind raced. He remembered all the traps he had set, the clever mechanisms Avery had designed, and his own ingenuity. He pulled a lever that released a cascade of nets and pulleys, sending crates and ropes swinging in Victor's direction. Victor and his men stumbled, tripping over hidden obstacles as Rust barked and lunged, protecting Kai. Victor roared in frustration. "This isn't over, boy," he shouted, retreating, but Kai could see the determination in his eyes. The man would return. But Kai had learned something crucial. He had the courage, the intelligence, and the heart to defend what was his. Kai took a deep breath, turning back to the attic. The final puzzle awaited, a large, cylindrical mechanism hidden beneath the floorboards. Avery's notes explained that it contained a powerful core, capable of generating clean, renewable energy for the entire island. Kai knelt, following the intricate instructions. Every wire, every gear, every lever clicked into place, and a soft hum filled the room. Rust whined, tail wagging, as the mechanism began to glow faintly. Kai's eyes widened. The energy system was working. The turbines outside spun faster, water channels surged, and the hut was filled with a soft, humming light. The island was alive in a way it hadn't been for decades. But the final twist awaited. As Kai examined the journals, he discovered a hidden compartment containing Avery's personal letter addressed to him. In it, Avery revealed a secret Kai hadn't expected. He wasn't just a distant relative. Avery had been searching for a worthy successor, someone with courage, intelligence, and a kind heart. Kai's trials, his perseverance, and his loyalty to Rust had proven him worthy. The inheritance wasn't just land or machines, it was trust, responsibility, and purpose. Tears welled in Kai's eyes. He had started with nothing, abandoned and alone, and now he held the key to a legacy far greater than he had imagined. Rust nudged his hand, sensing his emotions. "We did it, buddy," Kai whispered softly. "We really did it." Outside, the island seemed to shimmer in the morning light. Birds soared, the wind shifted gently through the trees, and the waves crashed in rhythmic harmony. The hut, the barn, and the underground chambers thrummed with energy, evidence of Avery's genius and Kai's determination. Victor's threat lingered, but Kai knew the man could not overpower the clever defenses, the intricate systems, and the bond Kai had forged with the island. Courage, intelligence, and heart had proven stronger than greed. Kai stood on the cliff overlooking the island, Rust at his side. He took a deep breath, feeling the wind on his face, the warmth of the sun, and the quiet hum of the mechanisms beneath his feet. The island was no longer just inheritance, it was home, purpose, and promise. In that moment, Kai realized the greatest treasure Avery had left wasn't the machines or the land. It was the lesson that even a boy abandoned and alone could rise, protect, and create something extraordinary. He had found courage, loyalty, and hope. He had found himself. As he watched the waves sparkle in the morning light, Kai knew the adventures were only beginning. The puzzles, the inventions, the challenges, they would continue. But he was ready. With Rust beside him and Avery's wisdom guiding him, Kai would face every obstacle, unlock every secret, and ensure the island's legacy thrived for generations to come.